before we get in this episode, can you do us a favor? Will you go ahead and subscribe to the channel?
Will you ring that notification bell?
And if you would, give this video a like. Well, enough of that mumbo jumbo. Let's get to the episode.
Let's talk developmentally speaking, glow up, and connecting through wrestling.
Hey everybody, I'm Morty.
And I'm Brian.
And on today's episode of Connecting Through Wrestling, we have something to see Charlie Key. Charlie, how's it going?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. Thank you for taking time to come on the show, take time to come to the studio. I lied to you previously before this. I usually do ask the same question starting, but I'm going to ask you this question starting out. Is this a pod shed?
This is not a pod shed.
It's not? So you could officially say that you've been here. This is not a shed.
I would call it a studio.
Thank you. Andy Shades has been here, and he still calls it a pod shed.
I'm surprised I didn't smell steak.
Well, back to that actual interview, I do apologize. I just wanted to, clarify that. Andy, he's been a big supporter of this podcast. However, we're not seeing eye to eye. I'm trying my best to stay, neutral in all this, but he's doing some stuff. I tell him not to do it. He still doesn't listen to me. But anyway, sorry. Back to the interview. What made you want to get into professional wrestling?
So when I was a kid, 5 years old-ish, my mom loved wrestling, and me and my mom don't have a good relationship. Usually, here lately we have. She comes to every show. She's very supportive. Mom left. I didn't see wrestling again until I was like 10 years old, found it on my own. I watched Jeff Hardy and the Intercontinental Championship specifically, and I fell in love with the Intercontinental title, the workhorse title, and the mid-card style of wrestling where they work hard and they just are excellent, and I wanted to do that.
I see. So you really appreciate the mid card, the people who they're working for their spot. I mean, nowadays, or if you want to go back, the guys are always at the top. You can talk about Hogan, you can talk about Cena, you can talk about Roman Reigns, or whoever you want to talk about. They don't necessarily have to work hard anymore.
I don't know if I'd say that. You still have to work hard because you have to work for your spot. But just the intensity and the speed and the agility of like a Chris Jericho or a Lance Storm, Jeff, like I said, Johnny Nitro, these guys that have these over-the-top personalities, and they're magnificent. And they don't have to be huge and so jacked.
All right. So you're talking size-wise.
Style.
So, yeah. So, good example would be people like that have been on this show. A lot of the people, Tank Tolan, Johnny Spade, people that were in OVW, that when they got brought up to WWE, that they weren't the big jack guys that were going to be put in the heavyweight title area. And that's what got you into.
Right.
So when did you decide wrestling's for me? This is what I want to do.
So, and I failed miserably here. I started training to wrestle at 24 years old. And to me, that's late. When I was 10, I wrote out a list of I wanted to be a middle school wrestling champion all the way through high school. I wanted to join the armed forces and do like armed forces wrestling because I thought that was the thing. I think Bobby Lashley did that. Then I wanted to go to college and do it. And then I wanted to go through OVW. I've always wanted to be in OVW. We used to my mom would take me once again. My mom's wrestling. It was a deep connection for us, the only connection for us. I wanted to be through OVW with our TV title with Southern Tag titles. Then I wanted to get signed. I wanted to win the tag titles and the mid-card titles and see where I went from there. Failed miserably, and that's okay because I'm really enjoying what I'm doing right now. So 10 years old, I decided that's what I wanted to do. This is my list, and lists don't always work.
That's true.
So you have this plan and it didn't work out, which I know all about. Trust me, wrestling is definitely a process of ups, downs, ups, downs. You're going to fail more than you succeed, especially when you're first starting out. So what was your next step?
So I set a deadline for myself when I graduated high school that if I wasn't doing something wrestling related, whether it be commentary, which is my plan B in wrestling, or wrestling itself, that I would join the service, and that's where I would spend my life. So at 24, I just turned 24. I approached Supreme Wrestling. Actually, I approached Donnie Idol from Emerge, and he directed me to Supreme Wrestling in their training center. I met with them, talked with them, and it went from there.
Okay. So yeah, Emerge is a very good partner with Supreme. We try not to work in each other's areas and promote off of each other. Um, when we're up there, we put our flyers out, and whenever they come down to our shows, they put flyers at Supreme. So um, a lot of people know that the head trainer is Eric Draven. So did you meet with Draven that first day, or?
So I contacted him on Facebook, and then I showed up to the arena, and I walk in, and we all know Bailey and Chuck, father and daughter, they're training. And I walk in, Chuck McRoberts is in the ring training Bailey, and he says, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm here to start training." I spoke with Eric Draven, and he said, "Well, he ain't here yet. You'll wait out front."
Wow. So the first person that you talked to at Supreme was Chuck McRoberts, and he was training Bailey, which
That's years ago.
that was a while back, yeah. So we'd like to get Bailey on here for our G.L.O.W series eventually.
So what was your first impression with that? Your first interaction with wrestling, and he just tells you to go outside and wait.
So I'm always early. I enjoy being early. Morty, I was actually heading here, and he asked me if I could be here a little earlier. I'm like, I'm on my way already. So I just step out front, and I'm like, okay, that's not who I'm here to meet with yet. So, and this is no knock on Chuck. I love Chuck. It's fantastic. Draven gets there. He introduces me to everybody. We shake hands, and then we get to work, and it was like it never happened. And I get to know Chuck throughout the time that I've been there. And once again, great guy. Couldn't meet a better guy.
Okay.
So once you started the training process, give us a kind of a day by day training regimen that you would do.
So we would get there. Uh, we would take our bumps, back and forward bumps. Well, front bumps are scary. They were. And then I learned to be a referee. Uh, Not something I enjoyed doing, but dues have to be paid. And then personal things happened in my life. Right before the pandemic, I quit training for about a year, and very very dark time for me. To quit wrestling and quit your dreams very hard. I messaged Eric Draven about a year later, and I said, "Hey, I want to come back," and he said, "I knew you'd come back," and that meant a lot to me. And so I come back, I start training once again. I started wrestling under reffing, and then I wrestled under the White Dragon mask. Uh, I'm sure everybody knew that was me under that mask. They see me as Charlie.
How many dragons they got down there?
How many dragons do they have down there?
The Red Dragon.
They had the Red Dragon. They've had the White Dragon. There was back in the day. It was the Red Dragon, the White Dragon, and then there was the Baby Dragon, which the Baby Dragon was usually a person that was my size wearing a mask, and they would act like they were childish the entire time. I have no idea who played that character. But there was a Baby Dragon for a while. That was a while back. I know a few people that played it, let's be honest. But not gonna name any names right now. I don't know if they want people to know. But they were a dragon at one point. I do. My favorite part of the dragon was the red dragon. He was my favorite because the voice of the red dragon was always on point. And I'm not going to give that secret away.
No,
but
it's not ours to tell.
But the voice of the red dragon, awesome person, awesome wrestler, and just played that even if he wasn't the one under the mask, he would still do the voice from the back, and that it was awesome.
So I did the White Dragon for about 8 weeks, and I reffed along with that, and then went on to become Charlie Key. for the first time in Memphis, Tennessee. I made my debut in Memphis, Tennessee.
And that was in Memphis. Was that working for the Golden Boy?
Greg Anthony.
Greg Anthony? Yeah. I've been to his show back in the day. I managed custom made there against Justin or Jason Deere and Colin Delaney. Yeah, actually, and everybody says that I messed up a spot, but we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, I might have heard this story.
It was really about how I was supposed to pop up and get the ref, and I popped up. The ref stayed down. The ref didn't care when I popped up. And count 3,
If they're down for the pin, they're down.
They're down for the pin. That's true. Rob Conway asked me if I was sleeping.
I've been accused of being paid off as a ref before. I was up in a merge reffing a show one time, and it was custom made against Black Cube Society, and Roger was just laying into this guy. They were double teaming, and I wasn't counting 5. and
Who would have paid you?
That's what I'm wondering here.
Checks in the mail. So you get there, you start, and you debut as Charlie Key in Memphis. Explain that feeling.
So I was over the moon and elated. My nerves were shaking, and there were 3 people in the crowd.
You'll have shows like that.
But I will tell you this: it was me and Eric Draven that night, and many more nights thereafter, and we had all 3 of them going crazy.
That's it's hard to explain, but yes, it is harder to perform when there's hardly anybody in the crowd. I've done it. I've done a show for 2 people, and you feel like, well, this sucks, but also that inner performer always comes out and takes over. And I think for me, being Morty out there and being, at the time, I'm sure I wasn't well liked. I almost felt it easier when the crowd was smaller because I could just be goofy. You know what I mean? There's just a little bit of it takes away the edge because I don't know. It's maybe because of in professional wrestling when you have a weekly story like at Supreme, you have to keep this story going. You can't break from your character. You can't break from the way you're acting. And you have to continue on with what is supposed to be conveyed. When there's only 2 people there, it's almost just like, well, this was a free week.
We're going to try something.
We're going to try something here and see if it works. And if it works, we'll do it again in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. So, go ahead.
I don't find a difference between working 2 and working so many. I've tried things and they didn't work out before. I actually done a springboard Faymaster that didn't turn out so well. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out so well. And I would have done that in front of 2 people or the 400 people we were in front of.
Springboard Faymaster. Did it turn out not well for you?
Not Faymaster, leg drop. I do the Faymaster.
Oh, a springboard leg drop. I think I might have been ringside for that. I think I was ringside for that.
It wasn't pleasant, but it's just one of those things you learn from. And I would have done that in front of 2 people or so many because the position, I didn't look at the positioning like I should have, and if I would have, it would have been a lot different.
Absolutely. So now that you're a former Central States champion, right?
And Mid-American.
And Mid-American as well. So you've held both. Those are basically the mid card belts at Supreme, right?
Yes.
Right. And you've held both of them. Where do you go now?
So right now I'm focused on King of Supreme. I am qualified. I beat Tyler Lee Deputy, who's out of OVW. Once again, wonderful school. Would love to wrestle there. Not asking anyone to reach out to me, but I'm going to get my Kentucky license here very soon, and I will reach out to people then. So King of Supreme is my focus right now, regaining the Central States title, and then after that, Eric Draven won't defend against me, so I'm going to enjoy being a long reigning Central States heavyweight champion. I don't want to have multiple reigns. I want to have a long and very fun reign for the fans.
A meaningful reign.
Very much so.
Right. So let's go back to Eric Draven. Brian, you know Eric Draven is having issues with Andy Shades from Backtalk, right? Now, Brian and I have separate thoughts on this. Now, I see, as a wrestling manager, a performer out by the ring and sometimes in the ring, I see where Andy Shades was in the wrong kicking Eric Draven. What's your point of view, Brian?
Well, Andy may have been wrong, but Draven has escalated it and basically welcomed Andy into wrestling. The only reason why Andy is involved is because Draven keeps it going, antagonizes him. Andy's misunderstood.
See, I disagree.
Had Draven dropped it, we wouldn't be where we're at.
I'm going to lay out what I told Andy Shades the other day, because I was on that podcast, and I told him just like this. If you kick a wrestler, if you get your hands on a wrestler in any way, shape, or form, they have every right to defend themselves so they can keep providing for their family. Because we have to do this again tomorrow. You don't put your hands on the performers no matter how much they irritate you. You just don't do that. So for Draven to defend himself, as much as I don't get along with him in certain fashions, I don't disagree with his decision on this right now.
Right. Well, here's the thing, Brian. I agree.
I can't wait to see that sweet new haircut.
Yeah. Again, okay, listen. Here's what I've got to say, and we'll let you, for sure chime in with this. When Andy Shades came back the week after kicking Eric Draven between the legs, Draven reached his hand out and apologized for getting in his face. Did you watch that footage?
Save your pity for the week. Pity's for the week.
But as Draven turned around, Andy put his hands on him again and tried to kick him again, which he's saying was a leg twitch. I call bullcrap on that.
It's a spasm.
See, I can't get through to him.
It's just a big misunderstanding is all we're at here, people.
Here's the difference. The reason why he thinks this and I think this is because this guy's always been behind the scenes. He doesn't know what it is to perform in front of a crowd. He doesn't know what it is to be out there and potentially in danger with people that don't like you. He's always sat in the back, being comfortable by his, board or his sound equipment. So he doesn't understand. So, we'll just see differently.
Well, then my question to you: Why is Andy Shades threatening to kick me in the testicles now? Is that okay?
Well, sometimes they like to say shit happens, other people get roped in, issues arise. Maybe Andy feels like you were disrespectful in some way. It's an issue that can be resolved.
All right. How would you feel if I kicked him in the balls?
You're a performer. You're not supposed to do that.
Double standard.
and as for Morty here.
Yeah. How would you feel if he kicked you in the balls?
Oh, I got good litigation.
Oh, yeah.
But as for Morty's comments here, I've been in front of crowds. I've been in front of thousands of crowds from New York City to Los Angeles to
Yeah, being
Toronto
kneeled down
to
holding the
Miami.
being kneeled down holding the cable for the camera doesn't count, brother.
Oh, no, 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 no,
Being
no.
front row don't count.
Yeah, being front row don't count either.
Morty, you were on an episode of Total Divas because of me. I've always taken you to the top, son.
And,
Now,
okay,
granted, I've
I
always
was
been a
never
bridesmaid,
seen on
never
an
a
episode of
bride.
Total Divas. You could hear my voice on an episode of Total Divas screaming at Tyson Kidd. I agree. I was there. That was a thing. But no, I do appreciate that you took me to that show. Yes, but what I'm saying is that
Shows.
yeah, I get that. Andy Shays.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing about Andy Shays.
Mm-hmm.
He claims he's not a wrestler, but he goes in there and attacks wrestlers. I'm not a wrestler.
Yep. You're. Ooh, I dig it.
I'm not a wrestler.
Dig it.
Andy Shays, I'm not a wrestler. You're not a wrestler. How about two non wrestlers meet in the ring sometime and have a conversation?
Like that one time that Vladimir Kozlov and Santino Marella had tea?
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Only
Okay.
there's not going to be any tea involved. I just want to have a conversation and see what happens.
It's out there. He just put it out there.
Yeah. So back to Charlie Key. Enough with Brian's bull honky beliefs. Um, so you want to have the Central States title. You want to make it relevant. You want to hold it for a long time. You don't want to see this stuff get passed back and forth like candy. You want it to mean something. Correct?
I do. I wouldn't say that it doesn't already. I mean, guys like Rob Conway and Josh Lewis and Tracy Smothers. I can't put the belt over enough. Uh, I believe it means something, but elevating it and
Mm-hmm.
and helping the prestige go up in value. It already means something, but I think it could mean something more.
Okay. Absolutely. I mean, you've got to put the value on yourself
Mm-hmm.
because when that belt's on you, that's all that matters. And if you are as good as you,
Well, it'll let me know where
believe.
it'll let me know where I stand because when my reign is over, if that belt means less, then I know where I am as a performer. I'm not as good as I think I am. And if it means more, then maybe it's time to set the sights a little higher.
Okay. Like that. So, if you had advice to anybody that's wanting to get into professional wrestling, what would it be?
My advice to anyone wanting to be in professional wrestling is to come in without an ego, be absolutely humble, be very respectful of everybody, know that it hurts, and don't complain about it hurting. Just do your best, be respectful, clean up after yourself, and make sure everyone feels as respected as you want to feel.
I couldn't say that better myself.
That's
That's
solid
that's
advice.
solid. That is, and I could say from working on shows with Charlie that he 100% lives by those words. Um, I could tell you multiple occasions where I know that he has taken time out of his day to, pick people up, take them to the show. Um, if they're stranded, you'll go pick them up on multiple occasions. Um, so I want to say thank you for being that type of human being because um, it's rare.
And I want to attach something else to that. If you want to be in this business, you have to pay your dues. Set up and tear down are a must. And I listen to Bob Evans a lot. So set up and tear down are a must. If you can't be there because of work, at least try to stay for tear down. Miss a little sleep. It's not going to kill you.
Right.
So that is a very important thing. You have to help, or maybe you don't belong on the card.
Right. Brutal Bob Evans just actually released a list of things, and yeah, it was spot on, and a lot of that you said was on there for sure. Um, but yeah, I just want to say thanks for coming in. Um, having a look at our studio, hanging out with us, talking with me and Brian. Is there anything that you'd like to plug coming up?
So I got all the posters on my Facebook. We got all of our Seymour shows in February. It's going to be on the third Sunday. The bell rings at 3, doors open at 2. But usually it's the second Sunday of every month.
There's some football game going on.
Yeah, there's some random football game that I'm not going to watch because that's not the greatest sport ever. When one man and another man or a woman get in the ring, or by male and female, because it happens now too, step in there and they figure out who the biggest and baddest is. Sometimes they cheat, but the biggest and baddest come out. Along with that, we have our Supreme shows every Saturday, usually at 2520 Lanier Drive. This weekend's going to be at the elementary school in Hanover, and Rhino's going to be there. So exciting time. I'm going to meet Rhino for the second time. Along with that, usually what I plug, Morty will probably plug. You can contact me on Facebook if you want to reach out for bookings or just anything at Charlie Key on Facebook. I also have merchandise for sale. If anybody wants a shirt, it's $20. You can PayPal me or Cash App me, and I will send it to your address.
Hey everybody, it's Morty.
It's Brian.
And thank you for watching today's episode of Developmentally Speaking.
If you could, please click that subscribe button.
And don't forget to punch that bell icon so you can get notified whenever we go live or drop a new video every Monday. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next
Developmentally Speaking.